Welcome back to Nile Cruise with Hala Al-Hamalawi and myself, Mohammed Abdurrahim, here from the Geyer Anderson Museum in the heart of Cairo, next to the famous historic Ahmed bin Tulun Mosque. Located in South Cairo on the Nile's east bank, Old Cairo dates back to the 6th century BC and occupies the sites of several early Egyptian capitals, including Al-Fustat. Merging into Islamic Cairo to the east, its heart is Coptic Cairo, home to historic Roman fortresses and numerous early medieval Coptic churches. The name Islamic Cairo refers to the city's rich history and heritage since its foundation in the early period of Islam, while distinguishing it from with the nearby ancient Egyptian sites, of course, in Giza and Memphis. And the Islamic monuments are characterized by hundreds of mosques, tombs, madrasas, fountains, hammams, mansions, fortifications, and so on. And with us to shed light on preserving our rich heritage and Islamic culture is Mr. Yasser Sibaq. He is a PhD student, a researcher, monuments inspector at the East Cairo Department. Mr. Sibaq, thank you for joining us.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
A very good day to you, Mr. Yasser. And to start with, we are here in this very special place, and you as a researcher and specialist, of course, you would find or you would know why people are attracted and the value of this place. Why was this place built and when exactly?
Sure, the area here very attractive area, especially this location here, or this place here is called Beit el-Keridliya or John Jair Anderson Museum. When we look to this museum consists of two houses. One of them date back to Ottoman period, another one date back to Mamluk period, and there was a doctor came from England and he lived in here, where he was lived here in between 1935 to 1942. And he restored this building. You can imagine this, or the two houses one day, there were very bad condition for the construction. So when he took these places, he restored this, and he was collector where he collected a lot of pieces from different countries, where here we can see different cultures. So for this reason, this place very attractive for all of the people to come to visit. But this place where now we can see open for the public, but for COVID-19 nowadays, not too much visitors come to here. But general, in normal time, always crowded, and a lot of people, not only local people, tourists, foreigners come to see this house because this house can give you a good idea about the Islamic houses in Middle Ages, as well as also a lot of stuff, a lot of objects in here date back to different times, date back to different periods and different art. For example, when we walk around, we find the Islamic house with its construction, where you come in or coming in by bent entrance. What bent entrance means the people where the passenger, when they cross the street outside, no chance to see the people inside. So we find also open court where we're sitting, and around us a lot of rooms. Some of rooms use the storage in first floor, and also well here a water well to supply the house with the fresh water, where you know in Middle Ages no water pipe at home. So mostly you find in big houses like this a well for the fresh water. And also the owner of this house, he built up Sabil, or a public fountain. Sabil, it is role to supply the area here with fresh water, because you know no water in houses, so mostly depends on sakka. What sakka means? The person who carries the water by or inside animal skin and giving this to the houses. So there were a chance to come here and take a water from here and giving this to the public. Sabil, where you know every year was supplied with the water during the flooding season, where you know before high dam in Aswan, before 1960 to 1970, every year here in Egypt there was a great flooding. So with the flooding, the water coming to the area here, so the people had a chance to keep the fresh water inside a big tank underground, where there were a lot of people do a work in this sabil, some of them cleaning the tank, some of them giving the water for the public. So generally when we look to the place very nice for anyone to see the Islamic construction and also the Islamic stuff, not only Islamic stuff here or not only Islamic subjects. We can see also some pieces date back to ancient Egyptian time. Also we find some pieces date back to or from Chinese art, from China, also Syrian pieces, so different art inside the house.
Yeah, beautifully laid out, Mr. Sibaq. Thank you. What other houses are in the area that are of significant importance, like Al-Kiritli house?
When you look to this one sure too important, but also we find a lot of places or a lot of houses, not only in here around all of Cairo, where we find also a famous house called Zainab Khatoon house, this behind Al-Azhar Mosque, and also we find Al-Harrawi house, so we find Jamal al-Din al-Zahabi, so many houses, not only in here, in different places, and also we find a nice house in Sihimi house, and also we have a famous house called Beit al-Razzaz or Manzil al-Razzaz, this in the Darb al-Ahmar area. So all of the houses here, not too much, but they have very, very nice art for the construction. When we look, for example, for Sihimi, the most biggest one, and you find a complete house for what? Not only find a construction where the people live in, but we find also water wheel, and also we find milling wheel where they used to mill the grain inside the house itself. Also we find a big garden, so the rich people, when they build their houses, looking also for the fresh air, for the green atmosphere, where they had gardens to supply the houses with the fresh air and light. So the Islamic art mostly did a focus for not only for the construction and not only for the art, also for the health houses or supply the people with sun and fresh air.
Yes. And Mr. Yasser Sibaq, what are the architectural treasures here in the Darb al-Ahmar region? You talked to us about so many places. What is so distinguished about the architectural style in these places?
Yeah, we talk about the houses, but not only the houses. Here we have a lot of other nice Islamic monuments. When we look, for example, next door for us, a famous mosque called Ibn Toulon Mosque. Ibn Toulon Mosque now, the oldest mosque in Egypt. Because sure, there were two mosques were built before. One of them, Amr ibn al-As Mosque, in Fustat, was built before, but completely Amr ibn al-As Mosque destroyed, and the construction where we can see now, mostly not original, but date back to another times, where each person or each king ruled Egypt in Middle Ages, he added a construction for this mosque. There was another mosque called Al-Fustat Mosque. What Al-Fustat mean? The second capital for Egypt, where the first capital was, the first capital was Al-Fustat, and the second capital was Al-Askar. Al-Askar was built next to Al-Fustat, but completely now Al-Askar and Al-Fustat, both of them destroyed, nothing from them. And Amr ibn al-As was a third mosque where, Ibn Toulon was a third mosque where Ibn Toulon came to this area, and he was built his capital. What his capital called Al-Qata'i. What al-Qata'i means sectors. What this mean? Meaning when he built his capital, he not wanted to mix between all of the jobs, all of the craftsmen do their work in one place in next. No, he would do different sectors, because he not wanted for a man, he do work, for example, in gold field, to do a work next someone, for example, do sheets field or do carpet or something, not like to mix between. No, he did a different sectors for different jobs. So Ahmad ibn Toulon Mosque now the oldest one. And also when you walk outside in famous street called the Saliba Street, Saliba Street extended from Sayyida Zainab Square to Saladin Square or Al-Qal'a Square, we can find a lot of Islamic buildings. For example, we find a famous two domes called Sinjar and Silar. After that, we find a nice madrasa called Sari Ghatmash Madrasa. Madrasa in Islam meaning a school where is dedicated for Islamic sects. where we have in Islam 4 sects. We have, for example, Hanbali, Malki, Shafi'i, Hanafi. So each group was studied in special place. So there were a lot of madrasas here. Not only Sarigat Mash, we have also another madrasa called Taghri Bardi. We have a famous public fountain or Sabil called Sabil Abbas. We find also another 2 buildings, one of them madrasa and another one of them khanqa, and another one mosque called Shikhu. We have also a nice public fountain called Qaid Bay, and also the most famous buildings where you know here called Sultan Hassan Madrasa and Rifa'i Mosque, where next to Saladin Citadel or next to Muhammad Ali Mosque in the Citadel.
Mr. Sibaq, we understand that Old Cairo has the biggest number of Islamic monuments anywhere in the world.
Sure.
The largest concentration of real treasures. I was wondering, in your view as an expert, what era has the most influence when it comes to the architecture or to the, to what we see by the bare eye? Is it the Ayyubid, the Ottoman, the Fatimid, the Mamluki? Which one?
The most or the Islamic art, I think, was completed with Mamluk period, where you find, for example, a lot of, or the most famous complete construction was Mamluk, and the Cairo was it was rich was it is Mamluk
Golden Age.
Mamluk construction. We have Giza pyramid, but in Islamic period we have Sultan Hassan school. Why? Because this is great construction. This is the biggest construction for madrasa around all of the world. So owner of this one, Sultan Hassan, when he started to build his project, he spent a lot of money. So when he spent his money, he said, I want to stop, but this is a shame and right of Egyptian king to stop about a project he starts. So you can understand by this how much he spent, because he became a poor after the construction because he spent a lot of money. So next door for Madrasa or Sultan Hassan, you find a nice public fountain called Qaid Bay Sabil or Sabil Qaid Bay next to El Khalifa police station. So this one also very famous. When you walk around, you find a lot of Mamluk building. Also, in other side, you find a nice palace where this is famous called Qasr al-Amir Taz or al-Amir Taz Palace, where you know this were famous in media, and a lot of TV programs take this place inside this palace, and as well as movies and stories or TV stories happened inside this one.
Mr. Yasser Sibaq, since around 2000, around 21 years ago, we started renovation and restoration for the area of Ad-Darb al-Ahmar, and it has been a subject for a long-running conservation and restoration program, and actually that was done for many historic monuments within the urban fabric of the neighborhood. What has been finished until now, and what still needs more attention? Because I have found some people launching campaigns on social media, save our monuments, save our Mamluk treasures, save our Fatima treasures. Yes, we are doing a great job in the restoration and renovation of so many areas, but there are calls to pay attention to some of the neglected places.
You talk about the 20 years now, where the restoration objects started in here. So during this time, there were a lot of Islamic monuments was restored. When we look, for example, we find a great project happened in Ibn Tulun Mosque, where this was restored, and also we look for another madrasa, Sarigat Mash, was restored, and also Shikhu restored. So a lot of restoration happened in here in this area. So many places were restored, and this to now from time to another time, we do also a new restoration projects in same area. But you know, the restoration need a lot of money, need a time, because it's not like a construction. When you look to the construction, easy to build a new building, but difficult to renew or repair a new building. So this need a time and need
Funding, a lot of
funding,
funding,
sure,
yes.
funding. So, for example, this place where we are now, John Jair Anderson, was restored once, in cooperation between Egyptian government and a British embassy. And now they started to do new project to do another restoration for this place. So you find always hand did a work inside the monuments around, so from time to another time, where we finished, sure, some restoration projects, but we started in new and other projects around or this area general.
Well, certainly a lot of challenges facing these efforts, but they are ongoing. Mr. Sibaq, surely the architecture tells a lot about the way people lived. So you as a specialist, as an expert, from the architectural designs that you see from different eras, the Fatimi, the Mamluki, and others, what do those designs tell you about social life in Egypt, about the traditions of Egyptians, about the values of Egyptians?
Yeah, when we look for the design where you talk about a different design date back to different times, where still I think the Mamluk design more popular now, and the people mostly when they want to do, they reuse elements when they want to decorate a houses or any other construction, because I told you before the Islamic art was completed with Mamluk period. So this is the most important art, not only important art, but the most attractive art, because very rich with it is.
Ahmed ibn Tulun is gorgeous. I mean, when you see the mosque that has been there for hundreds of years, and you said you consider it the oldest because it is the one that has kept its shape.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's magnificent.
Of course, but in general we look for Ibn Tulun like a traditional design. What a traditional design mean an open court in the middle, and you find four places for the prayer. We call this Iwan. So this more popular design, and nowadays not can do the same design because this need a huge land to do this. And you know now, for example, when we look to Cairo or the Great Cairo, too crowded city, so not find enough space to build a mosque like this. So we find now, if you want to, for example, look for Ibn Tulun was attractive for its time, or now we can do this in new cities, same design like this in new cities where we have more land, large land. But Ibn Tulun, where I told you, I think this mosque in Egypt like a stamp. Nobody can do a building like this, because owner of this one, when he wanted to build his mosque, what he said, I want to build a mosque not destroyed by a fire, not destroyed by flooding, not or built by or with halal money. What this mean? Halal money, you know, with or after Roman time, the churches and the mosques here in Cairo was built by Roman or Greek Roman elements, like columns or something like this. So for example, when you look to the churches in Coptic Cairo, you find the column completely this Greek Roman columns. Look to Amr ibn al-As Mosque, you find the columns, the Greek Roman columns. So in this time, some people said the people destroyed the Roman temples and reused the columns again. So he said, I not want to reuse a column from other temples or other buildings. So what the engineers did, they used red mud bricks. So what red mud bricks mean? Mean also not destroyed by a fire, because you know red mud.
Durability, yes.
Yeah, not like a limestone like in here. So when you look to the limestone, if any great fire or big fire happened here, this will be done. or also no flooding. When you look to Ibn Tulun Mosque, you find it is location more higher.
Yeah.
So the flooding, when the Nile in a flooding, the water not go in.
Yes. Mr. Yasser, are there any academic research work done about the treasures in this area?
Sure, a lot of researches where you find a lot of doctors did their master or their PhD about the buildings here, where some of them did this about the houses, some of them choose his topic about the madrasa, about the school, and also you find the international researchers also do a big focus about the area here, because you find the Islamic art was completed here. So anyone want to do research must be look for this area or take a topic from the art or the art in here or the buildings around the area here. So a lot of research is done and other research is still active, and also in the future more people would be do or choose some topics from this area.
I'm interested to know, Mr. Sibaq, if you will, what is your PhD thesis?
My PhD in general in different field, where I chose ancient art, ancient history.
Oh, okay.
So yani before this time, so.
Okay. So what specifically in ancient history are you
Yeah,
studying?
I did the economic relationship between Carthage, this in Tunisia, and Roman Empire, and the Greek and the Egypt.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. So this subjects
Good
about
luck.
ancient art, and for my master degree about the ancient religions.
Wonderful.
Well, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Yasser Sibaq, Monuments Inspector in East Cairo. Thank you very much for the valuable information you shared with us today. Thank
Welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you, sir. It's been a great pleasure.
Welcome.
Very informative. Thank you.
Thank you, welcome.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, a short break and we'll be right back.